Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, while Bitcoin's still playing out the massive bearish divergence on the larger timeframes, we can see that in the short term, the price of Bitcoin is also still playing out a short-term bearish divergence on the smaller timeframes, but we still have a lot of liquidity building just above the price of Bitcoin that we need to pay attention to. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment, alongside XRP still holding above this crucial area of support, alongside Chainlink also still holding above this very important area of support. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin price chart, and the super trend indicator is still sitting in the red, indicating a larger bear market or a larger correction for the price of Bitcoin. And of course, we're still playing out this massive bearish divergence, the long-term bearish signal still playing out on the weekly time frame. So obviously, nothing's changed over the last multiple months. I've been saying the same thing for months, since almost all the way back up here at all-time highs, talking about this larger correction or larger bear market still to come, which is still currently the case right now. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, of course, we're still in this same sideways price range between support and resistance, at least in the shorter term during the larger bearish trend. So right now, obviously, we still have a lot of support here at around 60,000, and also more support down here if the price were to get back down there, sitting in between around 53,000 to 56,000. And as for resistance, of course, we still have a lot of resistance starting at close to $72,000 per Bitcoin, which I'll talk about in just a moment, about some shorter term levels. But for now, once again, we're still in a bit of a range, kind of just having a slight little cool off, a little bit of a reset just in the short term, resetting the RSI out of oversold here in the 3-day Bitcoin RSI. Obviously, we hit oversold with that massive flash crash just over a week ago, and right now we're simply just resetting the RSI, playing out some choppy sideways price action, which obviously has been the prediction for over a week now, and I continue to expect this at least over the next week or so, possibly a bit longer, but at least in the next 1 week or so, we're likely going to see more of the same, kind of like what we saw around December, entering into January 2025, entering into 2026. Obviously, we saw something very similar to what we're seeing at the moment, but technically still within the larger multi-month bearish trend. And if we're zooming further into the short term, taking a look at the 2-hour Bitcoin price chart, we could still see a lot of resistance at this level on the price chart, sitting at just under 72,000, around 71.5k to 71.6k. We have a lot of resistance around there. So especially as we start entering into the 71k area, close to 72,000, obviously expect a lot of struggle and likely rejections from around that area on the price chart. And of course, my prediction over the last 24 hours since my last video right around here was most likely just some slight bearish price action, or maybe some choppy sideways price action as the most likely scenario, is what I said right here. And obviously over the last 1 day, we've now played that out exactly as expected. And this could possibly continue for a little longer, because we still have this bearish divergence, which is technically still active on the 2-hour time frame. But keep in mind, this is only on the 2-hour time frame, so these short-term signals only last for a couple of days before they quickly turn around and invalidate. And sometimes I still get comments here on the channel talking about why I'm flipping between bullish and bearish so often. But of course, that's when I'm talking about the short term, the small time frames here. Of course, the small time frames flip between bearish and bullish back to bearish very often, as we could see right here. From this bullish divergence to this bearish divergence, that was only 2 days of the bullish divergence playing out before we then confirmed a new bearish divergence and flipped in the short term. But obviously, that is the nature of the short term. It obviously has only short-term moves that don't last very long. If you want to go on longer periods of time without flipping between bullish and bearish, you simply just have to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Once again, if we're talking about the weekly time frame, I've not flipped once in months. Obviously, for multiple months, I have been bearish here, not flipped at all. Nothing's changed on the larger time frames in a long time, but in the short term, this changes between bullish and bearish very often, as we can see. And so, as always, understand the difference between the different time frames. The immediate short term is still looking slightly more bearish than bullish, but zooming out to the kind of midterm, talking about the next 1 or 2 weeks or so, we're looking somewhat neutral, because we're basically just bouncing around sideways. So those short-term bullish and short-term bearish moves are just making up a bit of a sideways price range if we're zooming out a little bit. But that current sideways price action, choppy sideways price action, is occurring within a much larger multi-month or longer term bearish trend. So that is the current situation across multiple multiple different timeframes and still my exact predictions moving forward and continuing to play out exactly as expected. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, it is worth pointing out that we still have some major liquidity sitting above the price of Bitcoin, sitting at pretty much exactly $71,000 per Bitcoin if we're looking at the last 1 week worth of price action in the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. So obviously that's still a key level to watch out for and a potential price target to watch out for the price of Bitcoin in the coming days or maybe over the next half a week to 1 week. But keep in mind, it's unlikely we'll go there right now at this moment in time due to the fact that we're still playing out this bearish divergence on the 2-hour time frame. We've not yet technically invalidated the bearish divergence, but maybe in a day from now, a couple of days from now, it's possible that soon this bearish divergence will likely end, in which case at that point, maybe in a couple of days once again or tomorrow, it's possible we could see another slight little retest and move back up to test this resistance here. But remember, this will still likely act as strong resistance. So we could likely just see a move up maybe in a couple of days from now towards this liquidity to wipe out this liquidity. But then once again, still expect a lot of struggle, especially at closer towards 72,000. And so overall, those are my expectations, price targets, and key signals to watch out for the price of Bitcoin in the shorter term, the midterm, and the longer term. And of course, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of Bitcoin in any direction using short positions or long positions, you need to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And if you use the first link below this video in the description and in the pinned comment, that first link below the video will take you to this page right here over on the 2bit crypto exchange, which by the way is a no KYC exchange and is an exchange that I personally use myself. And just by using that link below the video, the first link below the video to 2bit, once again, it'll take you to this page where you can take advantage of up to 800,000 USD worth of prizes simply just by trading crypto using that link. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Take advantage of some major prizes here. Once again, first link below the video. And remember, 2bit is also a no KYC exchange. But if you want another option out there, another exchange that I personally also use myself, which by the way, you could also claim some extra prizes on, then in that situation, check out the second link below the video in the description and in the pinned comment, because the second link below this video will take you to this page right here over on the Pinex crypto exchange, where just by depositing as little as 100 USDT, you could potentially win up to 100,000 USD worth of gold. That is right. And so as you can see here, once again, just by depositing 100 USDT, you get 1 entry into this prize pool right here. If you deposit 1,000 USDT, you get 2 entries all the way up to these larger deposits. So of course, you get more and more entries where you can once again potentially win up to 100,000 USD worth of gold and a bunch of other prizes here just by simply making a deposit using that second link below the video to Pinex. So once again, if you're going to be depositing to an exchange, trading crypto anyway, you might as well also take advantage of this. Check this out. Once again, second link below the video. But with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance chart on the daily time frame, and right now the Bitcoin dominance is still basically just bouncing around relatively sideways in a bit of a sideways price range. Obviously, we see short-term bullish moves, short-term bearish moves, but for the most part, still somewhat neutral in terms of the trends that we're in right now, which means a lot of the major altcoins will still likely be performing very similar to whatever Bitcoin is doing. So keep that in mind. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the 3-day time frame, it's a very similar situation for Ethereum right now on the 3-day chart compared to Bitcoin on the 3-day chart. Technically still within a much larger bearish trend if we're looking at the larger price structure on the price chart. But the shorter term situation is that we're just playing out this oversold signal, resetting and having a little bit of a relief, just some choppy sideways price action, a break from all of the bearish price action in the short term, exactly as I've been predicting for over a week now. And this will likely continue for a little longer, maybe for another week, maybe even another couple of weeks just in the shorter term here. Remember, the last little relief that we saw lasted from basically end of November 2025 up until early January this year. And so obviously based on this previous example, it's even possible we play out a bit of a relief, just a slight bullish relief or choppy sideways price action, having a bit of a break from all of the bearish price action for even up to a month or even slightly over a month during the much larger multi-month bearish trend. Remember, that was not the end of the bearish trend. That was not a reversal out of this larger bearish move. We ultimately went a lot lower later on, which could still be the case moving forward in the next multiple months. But just in the shorter term for the coming days or possibly weeks, obviously we're still playing out a bit of a relief, playing out this oversold signal just in the shorter term here. And as for key levels to watch out for on the daily Ethereum price chart, we still have a lot of support at this level sitting at around 1.8k, and we're also developing a bit of short-term support closer towards just above 1.9k, around 1900 to 1920 as a short-term level or area of support to watch out for. And as for resistance, we have a lot of resistance at just above 2.1k, especially around 2150 to 2250 as an area of resistance to watch out for. But overall, my prediction for the coming days or possibly weeks has not changed over the last 1 week. I continue to expect choppy sideways price action between this support and this resistance, and obviously over the last 1 week, that's exactly what's been playing out as predicted, and will likely continue at least for a number of days, possibly even another 1 or 2 weeks once again. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the weekly time frame, we're still holding above this very important area of support here, sitting in between around $1.30 to $1.40. So continue to expect a lot of support in that area on the price chart. But overall, in terms of the larger or longer term trend that we're in, technically this is still a bearish trend, despite the fact that yes, we are holding this area of support in the shorter term and seeing a slight little short-term relief. We've not really seen a lot of confirmation to fully confirm the end of this larger bearish trend. So keep that in mind. For all we know, this is yet just another short-term little relief, a slight little bounce in the short term during the much larger or longer-term bearish trend, still playing out this massive bearish divergence, which has not yet been invalidated on the weekly XRP price chart. But just in the short term for the price of XRP, of course, another signal that's helping with this slight little relief, a bit of a break in the short term from all of the bearish price action, is of course this oversold signal still playing out in the 3-day XRP RSI. Of course, the last time we hit oversold in the 3-day XRP RSI was all the way back here around July 2024. So it's been quite a while since this signal confirmed, of course. And the last time this signal confirmed, and what we usually see from an oversold signal, is usually some sort of bounce in the price in the following days after an oversold signal, basically just to reset the RSI out of oversold. So obviously we have been seeing that over the last 1 week exactly as predicted, and will likely continue either some choppy sideways price action from now on, or just a slight little bullish relief. I don't expect a lot of strength. I don't expect a lot of bullish momentum, just a slight little relief, just a bit of a break from all of the bearish price action will likely continue at least over the next few days, possibly another 1 or 2 weeks. But remember, at least for now, this is potentially all still occurring within a much larger or longer term bearish trend if we're talking about a period of multiple months. And as for key levels of resistance to watch out for $1.60 as a key level of resistance, and then anything above that would likely also find a lot of resistance at closer towards $1.80. And once again, that area of support still holding at $1.30 to $1.40. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the 3-day time frame, it's a very similar situation for Solana as what I've been saying throughout the video for basically the entire market right now, which is a longer term or larger multi-month bearish trend, and of course a short-term relief bouncing from support and playing out an oversold signal in the 3-day Solana RSI. And so because of the fact that we're only just exiting oversold territories in the RSI, we've really only just begun this little reset here out of the oversold territories in the RSI, which means it is quite likely that at least over the next few days, most likely actually at least 1 to 2 weeks, will continue either a sideways consolidation or just a slight little bullish relief. Once again, I don't expect a huge bullish trend reversal straight away or anything like that. Just a slight little break from all of the bearish price action is still quite likely if we're talking about most likely the next 1 or 2 weeks, that sort of time frame. But it is quite likely it will remain in this range right here, at least for the next week or so, between this support and this resistance. First of all, this support is still sitting in between $75 to $80 as the area of support, and this resistance is sitting in between $95 to $105. So basically expect the price to remain in a bit of a range between this support and this resistance as a very likely scenario, at least over the next 1 week, possibly longer, but at least that time frame, I do expect the price to remain in this range. But if we're currently playing out a similar situation to what we saw around the end of November 2025 up until early January this year, basically a bit of a range during the larger trend, of course, that suggests that maybe at some point in the future, maybe in a month or two from now, we ultimately see another leg down in the larger bearish trend. And if that's the case, if we ultimately at some stage confirm a break below $75, especially with a 3-day or a weekly candle close below 75, and especially if we fail to get back above that level, in that situation, the next massive target towards the downside or major point of support to watch out for would be sitting in between around $45 to $50. Yes, that is right. We could potentially see a $50 Solana if we first confirm a break below 75. But once again, just over the next week or so, I don't expect that to be the case. It could happen maybe in a month from now, but just in the next 1 week or so, I do expect the price to remain in this range, as I said earlier. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the 3-day time frame, it's a very similar situation for Chainlink. Obviously, longer term, multi-month trend still bearish, but the short-term situation is that right now we're bouncing from a key area of support and of course playing out an oversold signal in the 3-day Chainlink RSI, which means we're most likely going to see just a slight little bullish relief or some choppy sideways price action. And just like Solana, the price of Chainlink is also most likely going to remain in this range right here between this support and this resistance, at least for the next 1 week or so, possibly longer. And this area of support is sitting in between around $7.90 to $8.50, and this area of resistance is sitting in between $9.50 to $10. So expect the price to remain between that support and resistance as a very likely scenario, at least over the next 1 week or so. But as I just explained for the price of Solana, if at some stage we ultimately continue the larger bearish trend and break below this area of support, maybe in a few weeks or a month from now, for example, if that's the case, if we first confirm a break in the price of Chainlink below 790 with confirmation and fail to get back above that area, in that situation, the next massive target towards the downside would be sitting in between roughly $5 to $5.50. But a lot of beginners make the mistake in thinking that all of this bearish price action is bad news and that we are only losing money during the bearish times and there's no ways to make money. Of course, that is a massive mistake to be thinking that, because of course, yes, you can still be making money during the bearish price action. Believe it or not, in case you're new to all of this, yes, that is right. You can profit during bearish price action using things like short positions, for example, to actually profit along the way towards the downside and make money from these crashes in the price. So yes, we don't have to just wait for the bullish times to make money. We can still be making money during the bearish times using things like short positions, for example, or simply just waiting for lower prices to accumulate crypto at cheaper prices. Not financial advice, but just pointing out strategies and opportunities to continue to profit in the crypto market no matter what direction the price goes. And remember, if you want to take any trades like that for the price of any crypto, get set up ready to go on a crypto exchange using the links below this video. If you want to take advantage of massive bonuses that are only available using those links to certain exchanges, and if you want to actually know how you can trade these moves no matter what direction the price goes to profit basically at all times in the crypto market, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen, because the video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video.